Well, you have been warned. For those that don't know, Steam Next Fest has just started, and now developers from all walks of life are bringing out demos for new projects or new versions for games that have already been announced. It's an opportunity for developers to get feedback on their game, an opportunity for content creation as well as people discovering new games in general. It's also an opportunity to dive right into the abyss and experience some of the most cursed projects ever assembled to man. Steam in general has a lot of junk, a lot of adult content, and a lot of games that just fly under the algorithm due to the lack of reviews, or not enough reviews. But occasionally, I will see something akin to Brainrot materializing in the form of a video game. Well, my brothers and sisters in Talos, I have a surprise for you. Italian Brainrot Arena. Stendar's mercy. Okay, so what in the name of the septum is Italian Brainrot exactly? Well, from what I've read, it started back in early January 25 on TikTok with an AI-generated character called Tralalero Tralala, who was wearing Nike shoes. This would only be the beginning though, and other characters would have a similar concept of having designs around existing material objects surrounding animals, and now you have a cast of characters that would make up the world of Italian Brainrot. It's become a well-known and prominent phenomenon in the world of Brainrot content, not unlike Skibbity Toilet. If you dare to even click on the link that I'll provide in the description, a YouTuber by the name of Salo has used AI to create an anime adaptation of the Italian Brainrot universe. And not just him, but a lot of other people in content creation and other forms of media have also created adaptations of Italian Brainrot, whether it be in, artwork or in games or what have you. It's out there, and there is a lot of it too. AI in general is one of the most controversial topics right now, and it's making a lot of people nervous, and a lot of those reasons are valid. But it's not stopping other people from using the technology as a means to explore creative pursuits, and the existence of Italian Brainrot has inspired someone to create a multiplayer FPS game. It was made available to play during the Steam Next Fest event, and in my infinite wisdom, I decided to download the game and try it out, and wow, in its current state, it is absolutely horrendous. For those whose brains are already rotting, I will do the very best I can to make this quick, but I will have to go into some detail about what I liked and what I really, really don't like about this game, so let's try to start with some positives first, if it's even possible. Okay, so with the weapons, you have some customization options, not unlike what you would see in the recent Call of Duty games. Your loadouts can be customized to your preference in terms of the attachments as well as the equipment that you use. From the short experience that I've had with this game, it seems to stay permanent unless you change the loadout again, which is a neat thing because it would be really annoying to constantly edit your loadout if it was being reset between every match. You have a variety of standard fare modes that you can play, and even a zombies mode that you can play too. The movement and the gunplay is similar to COD if you're into that sort of thing, but it is in a very, very rough state right now, which I'll get into later. Most of the characters from the Italian Brainrot universe seem to be in the game, and if you're really into that world, then you'll appreciate the fact that they're in the game. And that's where my positives end. And mind you, the positives that I've brought up also come with significant cons that go along with them because this game has a lot of problems right now. There is no beating around the bush here. This game in its current state is downright bad. It is a glitchy and technical nightmare where a lot of the core mechanics don't work properly most of the time. You have a third-person and first-person camera, and both are incredibly inconsistent. With third-person, there are times where your hits won't even register, or worse, your crosshair will be on the enemy, but you don't end up hitting them at all. Look at this. I have my crosshair on the spot. I shoot and somehow miss twice, but when I move, I notice that I've just been hitting the wall twice the whole time. There seems to be a big disconnect between the placement of the weapon, the hit detection, and the crosshair. There were other shots that should have landed but wouldn't register despite my best efforts to aiming at the enemy and then ending up in disbelief as to what just happened. With the first-person camera, it's even worse, because sometimes you'll spawn with a different character where the model will completely block your vision of the weapon, and when you aim down the sights, it becomes impossible to aim at anything. Other times though it works fine because a particular model isn't constantly getting in the way, but it's still very janky in its execution. It seems to be the bigger and bulkier models that seem to have the most issues, whereas some of the other thinner models don't have as much of an issue with the camera placements of the weapons as well as the viewing of the model and such. Whether it be in the bots or in the online matches in the servers, you'll experience collisions between objects with the models and the weapons that they're holding. You'll be clipping through solid ground, foliage and trees that also seem to block shots. The gunplay and the movement in general is just very unpolished in its current state. The shots don't register consistently even when I am actually aiming at the opponents. On one server that I joined, I was shooting someone with the shotgun and the sniper multiple times in a row and they still would not die. It was the only match I could get into and it was just a miserable experience altogether. You do, however, have bots, but it honestly isn't that much better. And even though there are normal and hardcore difficulties that you could select, I honestly just couldn't tell the difference between them because the AI still functioned the same, where they were bum rushing each other with knives, spamming grenades, or just spraying ammo. When a game ends, you get a victory sign that shows incorrect results or information that just doesn't seem to align with the game mode that you're playing. One match, I wouldn't get that many kills compared to a bot that scored 21 because I had so many bots on the map, but I would not only be deemed the winner, but it would also say that your team captured the most points. Like, what? That doesn't make sense. It says this even though it was a free-for-all match that I played. And as mentioned before, there is a server browser that you can use to find a match, where you can join one if there's any available. But last time that I checked, no one was playing this game. There was only 2 servers with one of them running where there were 3 or 4 people on at the same time. But after that, it was just a ghost town and I couldn't find any more matches. However, you can actually host your own game and get other people to join if you want, so there is that, I guess. But I'll give the game some credit for at least having a server system because it is something that you don't always see in a lot of multiplayer games nowadays that favor matchmaking over just, custom server browsers and stuff. Besides the usual PvP based modes, you do actually have a zombies mode like I mentioned, but it is hot garbage at the moment. The moment that you spawn in, models acting like zombies will immediately bum rush you and start taking down your health before you can even breathe. And worst of all, you have no regen system here either, like you usually do in COD. So if you take too much damage and get hit again in the next round, you're finished. There are just so many things wrong with the game in its current state, and I keep saying that word for a reason, current state, because it is in an alpha build, and a very alpha build, I might say. And with that, I want to make something clear. A lot of these issues I've mentioned are generally something to be expected in an alpha build and could possibly be fixed upon later on when it goes into beta or during a full launch. So despite the insanity that I've just experienced with this build, it still does have some potential to be a wacky and fun casual game to add to your list of Brainrot material. I've said before that I don't usually talk about games that are utter shit, and that is true, but I will talk about games that I think have potential in the future, even if it's bad at the moment. I can tell that the people behind this game are having fun with the idea of an Italian Brainrot multiplayer style shooter. Multiplayer shooters in general have been very sweaty for quite some time in a lot of games with a very competitive environment, and yeah, you do get some outliers in more casual multiplayer experiences that will do their absolute best to play as best as they can, even if it pisses everyone off. But this game has the kind of vibe where you can just simply turn your brain off and get some kills because of the silly nature of the game, like a lot of people do in Call of Duty, or at least what you would expect to see in a game like COD that's generally been treated as a casual multiplayer experience that happens to have a lot of competitive people sweating it out. This game though needs a lot, and I mean a lot of work in the movement and the gunplay mechanics. It needs to work on the aspect of characters having special abilities, collisions between the maps, the weapons and models need to be fixed ASAP, hit detection and crosshairs need to be looked at again, and we also need the option to pick what characters we want to play as, and we need to be able to pick game modes and maps manually. Also, the art style and direction just isn't really quite hitting it. I think they should definitely consider something a bit more artistic to bring a lot more life to the characters that are displayed. There are a lot of things that need to be implemented, and there are a lot of things that need to be executed better, and I sincerely hope that this team is taking all of the things I said into account. Nevertheless, I will keep a close eye on this one, even though the idea is incredibly silly. You can still make a good game out of a silly idea, it's just not present here, at the moment that is. But time will tell on that account. Stay safe everyone, and thanks for watching.